Dr. Aaron Cole sits in his car in the hospital parking garage at 11 at night, doing the same math he has done every March for 6 years. $437,000 this year, $9,400 in savings. He closes the app before the number can sit with him too long. 2 towns over, Ray Delgado is closing up the shop for the night. $58,000 a year, give or take overtime. $346,000 sitting quietly in an account he opened at 24 and has barely looked at since. If this were about income, Aaron would win by a distance too large to even measure against Ray. He does not win. He is not even close. Once you understand why, you will never look at a paycheck the same way again. Here is the answer, stated plainly before we get into how it actually works. It is not the money. It has never been the money. Almost every person who never builds wealth is waiting for a number that does not exist. The number where saving finally becomes easy, and that number does not arrive at any income level ever for almost anyone. Stay with this, because the mechanism behind that sentence is stranger and more specific than it sounds. There's a dinner conversation coming up later, years after this all started, that shows exactly how invisible the trap stays, even to the person caught inside it. Hold on to that. Nobody explains this clearly, mostly because it sounds insulting when explained directly. Telling someone earning $400,000 a year that their spending is the problem feels like an accusation, so most financial advice avoids saying it plainly and talks about budgeting percentages instead, which misses the actual mechanism entirely. Aaron believed at 29, fresh out of residency and finally earning real money, that he would start seriously saving once he paid off his student loans. Reasonable plan. He paid them off in 4 years. By then, the mortgage on a bigger house had replaced them almost exactly, dollar for dollar, because a bigger house felt appropriate for someone earning what he earned. He believed at 35 that he would start once the house was more settled. The house settled. A second car arrived, nicer than the first, financed over 6 years at a rate he never actually calculated. He believed at 41 that he would start once the kids' activities calmed down a little. They did not calm down. They became more expensive instead, the way children's activities generally do as children get older. There was never a single reckless decision anywhere in that timeline. Every purchase examined on its own made complete sense for someone earning $437,000 a year. That is exactly the trap, and it is worth saying twice. Every decision made sense. That's the whole trap. Ray never had this problem, and not because he is more virtuous or more disciplined in any deep character sense. He simply never had the luxury of believing a future income level would make saving effortless, because his income was never going to jump the way Aaron's did. So at 24, on a paycheck of $31,200 a year, he started putting away $43 from every check, before rent, before anything, because $43 was genuinely the only amount that felt survivable to lose sight of. $43 did nothing visible for years. He still drove a truck with 200,000 miles on it. He still packed lunch instead of buying it. The money did not make him feel like he was building wealth. It felt like a small, slightly annoying habit that never quite went away. He kept a small spiral notebook in the truck's glove box for the first 3 years, just to track it, mostly because seeing the number written by hand felt more real than a screen. The notebook is long gone now, replaced by an app he barely opens, but he still remembers the exact page where the total crossed $1,000 for the first time, sometime in his second winter on the job. Here is what actually separates them, and it has nothing to do with income at all. Ray set his number when saving was hard and never revised it upward as an excuse to wait. Aaron kept waiting for saving to become easy, and it never did, because ease is not something that arrives at any specific income. Spending simply expands to consume whatever room it is given, at $31,000 a year and at $437,000 a year, following the exact same psychological rule both times. You have done a version of this. Told yourself you will start once the next raise comes, once the current bill gets paid off, once things settle down a little. That sentence has probably been true for you at several different income levels already, each one convincingly, and the saving still has not started, because the sentence was never really about the income. It was about postponing an uncomfortable decision by attaching it to a future condition that keeps quietly moving. The condition always moves. That's what makes it so believable every single time. This is the part that explains why the gap between Aaron and Ray is not really about money and never was. Wealth gets built by people who treat the decision as separate from the income, made once, at whatever number is currently uncomfortable but survivable, and then left alone regardless of what the income does next. Wealth fails to get built by people at every income level from 30,000 to 400,000 who keep waiting for a future income to make the decision unnecessary. Ray's $43 became $412 a month by year 8, not because he got dramatically better at money, but because he never let the number shrink even as raises came. And he occasionally let it grow when a raise felt large enough to absorb painlessly. By year 15, $346,000 sat quietly in an account he checks maybe 6 times a year. His daughter is 12 now, and she has already watched him decline a bigger truck twice, the newer model with the better sound system that a friend of his bought last spring. She does not know the account balance. She does know that her father says the old truck runs fine most weekends, and that phrase has quietly become part of how she thinks. A reasonable adult talks about things they can technically afford, but choose not to buy. Aaron still intends to start. He mentioned it again last month at a dinner in a tone of genuine intention, the same tone he used at 29. Nobody at that dinner pointed out that this was the 4th or 5th version of the same sentence across 14 years. Nobody ever does, because it always sounds reasonable in the moment it gets said. This is the dinner I mentioned earlier. His wife has heard some version of that sentence enough times that she has stopped reacting to it at all, the way you stop hearing a clock ticking in a room you sit in every day. That's not cynicism on her part. It's just what 14 years of the same reasonable sentence eventually does to how closely anyone listens to it. If you recognize that sentence in your own life right now, this is not a moment to feel behind. It is a moment to notice that the number you are waiting for was never going to arrive on its own, at any income for anyone, and that the only version of this that has ever actually worked is picking an uncomfortable number today and refusing to let a future raise talk you out of it. Ray is not smarter than Aaron. He simply never got the chance to believe that money would eventually make the decision easy, so he made the decision first, at the hardest possible moment, and let time do everything after that. Nobody at his shop knows the number in that account. He has never mentioned it, not once, in 15 years of the same co-workers asking about his weekend. That silence was never strategy. It just stopped feeling like something worth bringing up, the same way you would not mention brushing your teeth that morning, which is exactly why it worked. What Ray actually has underneath the $346,000 is something closer to permission. Permission to watch a friend buy a nicer truck and feel nothing but mild curiosity about the financing. Permission to hear about a co-worker's emergency and know quietly that his own version of that emergency would cost him an uncomfortable week, not a decade. Aaron, for all the income, has never quite gotten to feel that particular kind of permission, because the decision that produces it keeps getting postponed to a future income that was never going to arrive different from the one he already has. If you've been waiting for the right income to finally start, subscribe. Next time, we look at the exact number to start with when nothing about your paycheck feels like enough, and why picking too large a number is the most common way this fails before it even begins.